Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Take coaching, connect with your teachers closely and then follow up with them regularly to find out that what are your weak areas and work on them. It said, and my logic was flawed by these and so circumstances, or so and so logic was missing, right? You can work on your mistakes because just to see the answer key and realize, ye hoga, and then you read the answer and that answer makes sense to you. It's important that you start developing those skills no matter if you crack CAT or don't crack CAT, right? It's very important that you understand the basics of each and every field, that you are an informed citizen.
So hi guys, and welcome back to Real Humans of B School, and we are in conversation with Kartik, who's here from IIM Bangalore. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, great. So Kartik, we've had a lovely interaction, understanding about your profile and all the possible things that you have been exploring and doing right from college to IIM Bangalore. Tell us more about, how did you go about with this preparation for CAT? I mean, it scares the shit out of a lot of people. So what was your approach to it?
I mean, definitely it scares the shit out of everyone because you see the cutoffs which are there for top colleges and you're like, okay, I can't get that kind of a number because it's bizarre. I mean, people get scared of the board cutoffs of, DU and other colleges, which is 96, 97. And then you look at 99 cutoffs, especially for engineer males, it goes even beyond. I mean, definitely it's scary. So the first step is to sort coaching, take guidance from mentors who are experienced professionals about teaching for the CAT exam. Because one thing that separates this exam from any other exam is that this is a management exam, right? You can't score full marks in CAT, right?
Yes.
There's a difference between percentage and percentile. So to gather knowledge about what the exam pattern is, how to go about, and then recognize our own strengths and what to work on. That is very important. So first step is definitely take coaching, connect with your teachers closely and then follow up with them regularly to find out that what are your weak areas and work upon them. I think that is the first thing that everyone needs to do. Beyond that, definitely give mock exams and then realize what are your weakness areas and then work on them. Take it section by section. Okay, what are my problems with VARC and LR and quants? I mean, I'm happy to even tell that in detail.
So that's really interesting.
So,
The way you said like weak sections and analyze. So, how about since we have like around 4 months to prepare fully for CAT right now, what would you suggest as,
right.
what should be the approach for that?
Okay, so I think 4 months is good enough to prepare for CAT. I mean, it's not like that you have to work for a year or couple of years. I mean, I see that a lot of people, they kind of give up on one attempt even before they have given the attempt. They're like that, okay, this year I can't give CAT in a very good manner. I'll probably prepare for next year.
Yeah.
I think giving up this soon is the first biggest mistake that you could do, right? First thing is that you should give it all in this CAT 2020. The reason being that you'll probably graduating in 2023, I guess, right? You're admitting for 2021 to 2023. It'll be the boom period, right? I think CAT 2020 attempt is worth about 2 or 3 attempts because the fact is that
Yes.
you will be entering the college when the economy is in boom. So you'll get the best of opportunity. So give it your all. I mean, this is the time for you to prepare for CAT. When it comes to preparing 4 months, I think 4 months is it's good enough. It's definitely good enough. For engineers who are good in LR and quants, focus on VARC. And even if not on VA, but definitely on RC, because RC is the biggest portion of English. And I think that all the engineers which are part of top colleges, they all did really well on English. I mean, you can't cover up a section and get into a top college, right? You can't be like, okay, my quants and LR would, cover up for my English. You can't do it. You have to be good at all 3 sections.
So if I were to ask you, like, Kartik, tell me 5 things which you should be doing to make sure that, you get a 99 percentile in VARC, what would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I myself had a very transformative journey from scoring about 20, 30 marks, which was roughly 70 percentile, to scoring over 99.9 percentile in English itself. I mean, it was a big transformative journey. And I think that there were a couple of things which can really transform your score in VARC. Because the first biggest thing is that everyone knows English. I mean, we feel that we know enough English in us to, go ahead and carry out conversations with people. That's true. But the fact is that it's not a test of your English, but your comprehension. And, there's no syllabus as such for VARC. I mean, there's syllabus for LR, there's syllabus for quant. You could practice it, get to know formulae and then apply it. But for VARC, there's no such syllabus. I mean, in the past couple of years, there's not even a question which comes for vocabulary. So there's no point in mugging up vocabulary to enhance your RC skills. That would not happen. So the thing that I personally practiced, which helped me to transform my raw score from 20 to above 80 was that I went back to my school days. And during my school times, I, saw that how do I used to, practice those RC passages. It was that I'll read the question and I'll write the answer subjectively, right? Because there I'll put in my logic. I'll spend good 5 minutes on a question. I'll read the passage again, the relevant portion, and then I'll write it down that, okay, X killed Y because, and then I'll put in my whole reasoning. And then when I see the answer key, I realize that, okay, where is the gap in my logic? That, oh, I thought that this is why X and Y did what it said. And my logic was flawed by these and so circumstances, or so and so logic was missing, right?
Wow.
And then you realize, okay, what do I have to work on? It's very, very important that you not just go on and increase your reading speed when you're scoring low marks in your VARC. It's very important that you realize that what is the mistake that you're making, right? Is it on inference-based question? Is it on logic questions? Is it on syllogisms? Or there are various, is it conclusion-based? Are you not able to find the premise of the argument? So it's very important to go and answer those RC passages subjectively. And then you'll realize from the answer key that, okay, where is the logic gap? And using this simple trick, I was able to.
It's really nice, simple, but I think that's something which none of us ever do. You just get into the whole concept of keep practicing RCs and keep reading more and more. That kind of helps you to do it. So that's a very nice thing to, go back to your basics right from where we started the first time of writing the RCs and filling the gaps between the logic. So this really helped you to score much better?
Definitely. Because I used to attempt all the questions. Even when I attempted my first AIMCAT, in RC, I attempted all the questions because it's like that you've read the passage, right? So you can attempt the question. Although wrongly, but you can attempt, right? And my accuracy was like 35-40% initially. And if I'm attempting all 34 questions, I'm getting about 16, 17 correct. And I was like that this is not how I want it to be, right? I want it to go higher. I want my accuracy to go way higher. And then, initially I just check the answer key, okay, this is wrong. Acha haan ye tha, right? But this is not the way that you can work on your mistakes. Because just to see the answer key and realize, ye hoga. And then you read the answer and that answer makes sense to you. But, okay, you've realized that, okay, your answer did not make sense and that answer made sense. But you've not yet realized where you went wrong. To realize that, you should have your subjective answer in place and then you compare the logic and then you realize, okay, I'm not probably reading the passage correctly again. So the learning that I learned from my subjective wala pura trial and error was that whenever I read a question, I'll go back to the relevant portion of the passage. Read 2 lines before it and read 2 lines after it. Because 90% of the questions are either hidden in the 2 lines prior to that relevant portion or 2 lines after that relevant portion. They generally are that, okay, the situation was this, it is mentioned in the passage. Now, what was the conclusion? The conclusion is the following line, right? So that's one of the ways in which you can probably go back, read it again, find your logic, apply it, and answer all the questions.
That's interesting. So it's a different concept altogether. Like, your objective questions, start looking at it in a subjective way so that you improve your accuracy. That's amazing.
Yes.
So, that's one thing we can definitely look at, the kind of improving the RCs and approach. What do you suggest? Should they read the passage first or should they read the questions first?
Definitely the passage first. Because if you read the questions first, you'll always go with the mindset of, okay, I have to look for the answers. And then you'll miss out on the logics which you would require to answer those questions. Because the CAT paper setters are not people who want to give you marks. They want to
Correct.
find people who have logic gaps, right? They
Hmm.
want to find people who are not doing it correctly. And they'll plant an option which is specifically for people who have some advanced logic gap or some basic logic gap, right? So that is why it is very important to reach the passage first. Or I would suggest that in the initial beginning reading of the passage, to skim through the passage. So
Correct.
realize that, okay, if I get a question, I know that which relevant portion I need to refer back.
Hmm.
Because when you read the question, I used to refer back to my passage again, right? So it's
Correct.
not that you've read the passage first and then you feel that, okay, I know everything about the story, I can go ahead and
Obviously,
answer.
we all don't have a
The cat,
photographic
yeah.
memory, unfortunately.
No, I used to do it because I used to read the passage and I was overconfident that I have understood the passage, right? And
Okay.
now I can answer all the questions without referring back.
Hmm.
That was my initial mindset. I think a lot of people have that mindset that, okay, I've understood. Yeah, I've read so many novels. I know the story, right? But knowing the story and knowing details, there's a lot of difference in that, right? And the
Correct.
cat paper setter has specifically planted those options and questions that people who don't refer back, or
Hmm.
people who know the 80-85% of the story but miss out on the 15% of the portion, the
Correct.
question would definitely be from that 15%. It's
Hmm.
all the more
That's
important that you
interesting.
skim through the passage first, then refer back, and then answer.
That's lovely. So we should make sure you guys get your logic fix, start answering the questions subjectively. Also start making sure that you read the read the passage first, then read the
Yes.
questions, and always refer back. Don't be like one passage, one reading is more than enough for all of them.
Yeah.
What would you suggest would help to increase your reading speed and the kind of understanding, not just the speed? I mean, speed is one
Hmm.
aspect, but you need to start comprehending what has been written. Like many a times
Right.
what happens is, like for all engineers, reading philosophy and history sometimes just gets too overburdened, and like it's like, what the hell am I reading up for? So is there something that can be done to increase that kind of inclination?
Right. I think that that's a very good question, because the fact is that n- never in your advanced career or down the line you'll ever see a passage about, let's say, photosynthesis, or a passage about Einstein's equations and all of that. You'll be given passages about psychology, life sciences, history, political science, right? And it's very important that you start developing those skills, no matter if you crack cat or don't crack cat, right? It's very important that you understand the basics of each and every field, that you are an informed citizen that knows that, okay, what's happening in the economy, what's happening in the political side of this of the nation, and all of that. So I think vocabulary does not help. Vocabulary does not help because the passage would not contain absurd words. It's not written by Shashi Tharoor, right? It's written by normal people. So don't go around mugging those vocab cards that some institutes give you. I mean, okay, it's my personal opinion, right? It did not help me because vocabulary is simple of cat. But the fact is that yes, you have to be comfortable with different topics that come up, and those topics would not be bizarre. They'll not give you a very specific biology kind of a passage. And even if you don't understand the passage, the questions there would not be very domain specific. They'll be agnostic questions. And I mean, if you read generally, if you read the newspaper, not just the editorials, because editorials again are generally politically, right? If you just don't read the editorials, but everything about the economy as well, and about, let's say, history, geography, if you're an informed citizen, I think you'll be good to go with all the passages, right? Don't expect any passages on sciences, right? If you're engineers, don't expect on sciences. If you're a commerce student, don't expect that there'll be a balance sheet given over there, right? It'll definitely be a
True.
general passage, a general story. So read it like a story. I think I was very happy with the passages that I got in CAT, because you're getting to know some new stuff, right? So regard it as if you're learning a new thing in your life, because it'll be a
Hmm.
very good passage that your CAT exams or your mock exams would be. So just take it as a good learning, a nice experience for you. I mean, I never read. There was a question about geography, about how the tectonic plates of Saturn. That was my passage, right? And it was a nice GK thing to have, So I really loved the passage. So take it in your stride. I'll just say that.
Okay, that's interesting. That's really good. Though he mentions, don't do vocabulary, I have a contradictory opinion on that. That vocabulary makes it easier in terms of sometimes if there's a word which you've not heard of before comes out there and which you
Mm.
understand, it just makes it better. Ki, ha, this passage is not going too off for me, and which does help
I
at
think the
times, because many a times
yeah
there
that
are certain words which we don't use in our day to day. they're not high-fundu words, but they're just a little
Yeah.
different words which do come in, which people, who are used to reading newspapers may be accustomed to.
Yeah.
Like if you are someone who's like, kabhi life mein paper bhi nahi padha hai, koi books bhi nahi padhi hai, then start with vocabulary. Kyunki kuch to padhna start karoge, you will start understanding. So, that's a little difference. I mean, yeah, you definitely can
I think,
say that
but yeah,
doesn't
the
work.
return. So I was like that. Okay, return on investment is less because if you mug up a lot of, if you can, I mean, definitely you should. But
Definitely.
I would not set it as my first priority. Okay, that's my
Correct.
advice, right? I
True.
mean,
I
I
think
did it
first
because
priority should
probably
be
also
to
I had
start
a
looking.
nice background in English as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So probably I was confident in my vocabulary, so I did not do it. But if people
Yes.
who are, let's say, who need some brush up with
Mhm.
new words or different words which are common for other people but not so common for them, they definitely would require to brush up on vocab.
Definitely, definitely. For those, it'll be something which is good. But if you have a strong background of verbal right from the beginning, like from the schooling and a habit of reading some kind of books, some novels, or you even enjoyed for that matter reading your textbooks, then you will not have a problem with vocab. That's definitely correct. Like the strong thing also
A
helps.
small tip. I think this is a very personalized kind of a tip for people. So it's all the more important that you connect personally with your teachers, with your mentors, with your guides,
Yeah.
because only be able to recognize that, okay, you probably don't need vocab or you do need
Hmm.
vocab or you do need some training. So it's very important that you go personally with your teachers, discuss your mock results and then realize that what is something that you really need to do. I mean, I reached out to my mentors personally and they really helped me to fix my problems. That's also a tip for people. Reach out to your discuss
Definitely.
personal problems.
That's a very good point which you have mentioned, Karthik. It's always good to have someone to give you a direction. Because if you start looking at
Yes.
generalized strategies, it may not work. I mean, you have plethora of general strategies available online. It worked for that person. It may not just work for you, but not just for verbal. I think for every exam, for every section. So that personalized mentoring is a very important point, which kind of gives you a direction because sometimes you are just lost, and in this entire prep
Yes.
phase it's very easy to get lost into the whole like my friends are getting scores and I'm not getting, so what do I do? I mean, I can't just
Mm.
do what they are doing. So very interesting. And like you said, like mentorship and all of them helps. So does that help for even the other sections like quants and LRDI, or there you can still have a generic strategy? What do you feel?
So again, for me, LR and quants were again a very different journey. I was always like good enough in LR because I knew my sets. I knew that okay, Venn diagram, I'll be able to do it. There's any linear arrangement, I'll be able to do it. If there's a, let's say, a jumble, there's a like so many letters, find the sequence and all of that, I'll skip that question simply. So because there are about 8 questions in LR and you only need to do 4 questions to get
Mm.
over 99. So ration your time correctly, that okay, if I'm good in 3 or 4 sets, I'll do just those sets, right? Because it makes no sense to go and learn everything, try to attempt everything and then end up depressed in your section that okay, I could not answer all the questions. Because just know yourself, know your
Correct.
major areas and then do it. So that helps in LR. In quants, I'd say that again, pick and choose your uh, areas and subjects. For example, I left geometry because geometry you need so many theorems, so
Wow.
many formulae, and then there are some very difficult questions that come up at for geometry. For 3 or 4 questions, I simply left them, right?
Mm.
And I attempted all the others, and they were correct. So if you're good in your areas, you know your strengths, uh, you should just go ahead and attempt those. Again, this is a tip that is for people who have a lot of areas where they are good at, right? You can't just stop giving up on areas right from 4 months
Yes.
when they have still 4 months to build your proficiency in other subjects. You can't just leave those right now. But going ahead, if you're not too comfortable in a couple of areas in quants, you can still give CAT and attain a very good percentage.
Very true.
One thing that I tell my peers and everyone who's giving CAT is that if you're not able to see all 34 questions or attempt at least 25, then you are somewhere wrong in your strategy in quants. I mean, this was
True.
my rule. Either go through all 34 questions that, okay, you are able to manage your time. Okay, you could only answer 15 of them because you
Hmm.
only know 50. That's okay. You went through all 34. Or else you are actually answering 25 questions that, okay, time went off and I could only answer 25. That's good enough. If you're not able to answer 25 or not even able to go through all 34 questions, then strategy is wrong. A lot of times they're very easy questions which are 33rd, 34th questions, and
Yes.
you're missing out on those, and they pull up your percentile very easily, like heavily. It'll
Correct.
take your percentile above even 3 of 6 marks, right? So it's very important, either sift through all 34 questions or answer at least 25. That's one of the basic rules that you could check yourselves if your strategy is right in
That's
quant.
interesting. That's really interesting. And I think that's very important because, like you mentioned, the last few questions are easier. That happens many times. And we end up like being stuck onto it. No, this though I will be able to solve and spend like 10 minutes onto it. And you have screwed the whole section up for you. So I remember
Yes.
one student from IIT Bombay last year telling me that the paper was amazing. I screwed up. I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, because I was so adamant that this, like you mentioned, geometry is my favorite topic. How could I not solve it? I spent 15
Yeah.
minutes on one question. That's
You
like
should
digging
leave
your
your
own
egos
grave.
aside. Yeah.
You can't. You can't spend so much time,
Right.
on just one question. You have to move on. So you have to see all of them. So that's a really
I
interesting.
think it's also about the exam day. The fact is that, okay, I was not able to answer 4 questions in a row in exam. Like either I could be depressed that, okay, I've ruined my exam. I saw the next question. It was a very lengthy question of AP, right? And it required a lot of calculation, but I was confident that I could answer it. I spent 4 minutes, answered that questions, brought back my confidence, and moved ahead with the section. So also it depends on the exam day strategy. If you're not able to
Correct.
answer 4 questions, then you find a question which is lengthy, but you can answer it. Go answer it. Bring back your confidence. Go ahead with the rest of the exam with the strategy that you had in mind initially. So that's the way. You should never be depressed with whatever has been going on in the CAT exam. Go there, do your best.
Awesome. That's very important. Stay calm and motivated on the full day of exam. Don't let one or two questions pull you down. So that's really
Yeah.
amazing. And thanks, Karthik, for sharing your entire CAT prep strategy with us.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I always love to help students whenever they are to excel in their careers. If a little help can take them to a higher stage in their careers or somewhere better in their preparation, I'll always love to help them.
Lovely. That's nice.